When I was searching for my purpose, I wish I would have known that you don't find your purpose. And ultimately, I wish I would have known this a long time ago, because I would have saved myself hours and hours and hours, and probably even a lot of money, because I was actually doing a lot to try to find my purpose with buying resources like books and courses and all sorts of things. And after a long journey of trying to find my purpose, a lot of life coaching and various other sources, what I have realized is that you don't find your purpose. And I want to talk about this because I would love to save people time and money like I did not have and did not realize I could do. And I want to also give an easier way of thinking about purpose, because when we think about it in the way that it must be found, like it's some treasure hunt and you don't have a treasure hunt map to go with it, and it's somewhere out in the world that you need to go find and figure out, and then you'll do it, and then you'll be massively happy. I really actually think that this is something that is wildly misunderstood. And I even think I have a little bit of a contrarian viewpoint of this, because I do know that there are things that are very amazing out there that are resources like finding your dharma, your ikigai. There's all these, types of philosophies and even resources out there that talk about these things. But ultimately, what I came to understand and what I teach is that purpose is not something that you actually end up finding. You're not going to go on a hunt and you're not going to find it. And it's the one thing that I really wish everybody knew, and that is you are not going to find your purpose. And the reason for that, there's actually 3 reasons for it that I can consider and come up with, and it's one of the biggest, is purpose isn't just one thing, which is why it's not meant to just be like found. Like, okay, it's the one thing. Now I have found it. Now what? And I really subscribe to the fact that it's not just one thing. And what I love about this is that it takes off so much pressure too, right? Like, tell me you don't have and don't feel a lot of pressure to find your purpose, because you want to be living your purpose every day, because you want to feel fulfilled, because you want to be happy. And purpose does equate to those things in a really big way. If you're doing your purpose, if you're being your purpose, then theoretically you'll feel fulfilled, and you'll feel like you've fulfilled why you were supposed to be here. And when we consider it to be just one thing, when we think about purpose being just one thing, it puts so much pressure on us. And sometimes to the point where people will even understand what they love to do and be comfortable fulfilling their purpose, but are too afraid to, because they think, well, what if this isn't it? And what if it's something else? What if my purpose is something else? So even when they kind of come across the one thing they think is their purpose, they get tied up into this rhetoric of, but what if it's not that? And so there's too much questioning that happens, that goes on when you think about it as being just one thing being your purpose. And so that's one big ticket item that I think needs to get off the table, is that your purpose is just one thing and one thing only. It puts way too much pressure on everybody. It makes you feel like you've got to go find it. And then once you find it, that's it, done, dusted, life is good forever and ever. Amen. I just don't believe that to be true. So when we think about purpose and we think about why it's not something you just go find, one of the reasons is because it's not just one thing. It's definitely not just one thing. And as I've mentioned in several of my other videos, and if you want a resource for how to find your purpose, I do have a video on that. I'll link it in the show notes so that you can go and watch that, so you have the roadmap, the blueprint to having purpose in your life. But I will state it here. My definition of purpose is fulfilling your soul's desires. And that's why I also think it's not just one thing, because your soul isn't that one dimensional. Like the divine, God, whatever you believe, didn't make you to just like be a robot that you push a button and you do one thing in life and that is it. If you think about people who do things in life that feel very purposeful, maybe it seems like they're doing just one thing, that's very purposeful. Like, I recently saw the founder and CEO of Charity Water. And if you look at that guy, you think, okay, his purpose is to have clean water across the globe for every single person on the globe. But that's not really his purpose. That's his mission. He's doing something for a mission. And if you think about how that man feels fulfilled, it isn't just through Charity Water. And if it was, that'd be a pretty like unilateral life. It wouldn't be a very fulfilling life. Like even though he's doing the most amazing thing that anybody can come up with by providing clean drinking water for people who do not have it, he would still feel very unfulfilled if there were other things that his soul wanted to express and to explore, and he didn't fulfill those desires. So for example, I know he has a family. I know he has a wife and children. And that's just one thing I know about him. There's probably a million other things I do not know about him. But part of his purpose and part of him carrying out his soul desires is to have a family. And so when you think about what your purpose is, it isn't just one thing, because your soul is not one dimensional. Your soul isn't just like, boom, one thing only, and then I will feel happy and fulfilled forever and ever. Amen. No. So when you think about the definition of purpose, it is to fulfill your soul's desires. It can be all sorts of things. It can be having a family because your soul says, I'd really like to have a family. Okay, fulfill your soul's desires. That is your purpose. So you can feel confident that if you have fulfilled that desire of your soul, that you're living your purpose. Your soul might want to explore a different country because that would be exciting and fun. Okay, great. You have fulfilled your soul's desires by exploring a different country. So you see how there's no way this could be just one thing. And again, if I look at let's just say your soul is very, very expressive and loving travel and doing travel and seeing different places and seeing different countries. If that was all you did, that's the only thing you did in life because that was your sole singular focus of purpose, again, it sounds very luxurious to be a world traveler. It seems really interesting, but you would end up not feeling fulfilled or happy because you'd be alone doing it. Maybe your soul desired to do writing alongside your traveling. And if you didn't do the writing, your soul would still be like, hey, over here, I'm trying to figure this out. Can you help me out? I love travel. It's great, but I'd also like to write about it or make videos about it. So it's all about fulfilling your soul's desires. And that is why you don't just find your purpose. What you actually do is reconnect with yourself and you go inward, not outward, which leads me to my second point of why you don't just find your purpose. And that is because it is in you and not outside of you. This is a huge mistake people are making when they're trying to find their purpose. It's some sort of outside of them thing. Again, treasure chest searching, right? It's like you're going outside of yourself to try to figure out what your purpose is or how to have purpose in your life. But the reality of the situation is it's not anywhere in the world. It's not to be located. It's not on a map and you exit and then you go find it. And what it really is something that is inside of you, which is why I use the definition, your purpose is to fulfill your soul's desires. And the only place you are going to find your soul's desires is inside of you, inside of your heart, not inside of your head, inside of your heart, inside of your body. Your soul is in the inside, not the outside. And we can get really messed up about this because when we grow up, there's a lot of things that we are supposed to want, and we're very much taught that. It's not our fault. We're not to blame. We're not to blame because we're just growing up in a society where this is just reality. It's just reality. It's like we get things put in front of us on a regular basis that condition us to want something that is outside of ourselves. Material goods, relationships, where we go to college, what company we work for. There's a level of prestige that comes with a lot of this stuff. So we're being very conditioned to want things that are outside of ourselves. And we're twisting and turning that and contorting that into finding our purpose. So what a lot of us end up doing is we get on this path. We have this vision of what we want our life to be like. And we think, okay, purpose. I want to be a CEO of a company. And let's just face it, we see people who are in these roles all the time that are not fulfilled, and they thought they wanted this stuff because society put them on that conveyor belt to want those things. And once they get there, once they have those things, then they're not happy. So this is something that happens to, I would say, actually the majority of us. We don't have the ability to go inward and understand what our soul wants because we're not taught that. And then by the time we kind of are brave enough to do it and start waking up to the idea that we're actually not very happy, now we're in a position where we have mortgages to pay, families to take care of, car payments to be made, fulfilling the pressure and stress of our actual job that we went after really hard and received. So now we're trying to keep that job because we have the mortgage payment and the car payment and the kids, and we got to send them to college and all the things. Not to mention, if you're a fairly new grad or maybe you're 10 years postgraduate, you might even be still paying for your college degree. And so we start down this path because this is the path that society tells us we should be on. And then we wake up and we're not happy. And then we go on this search for our purpose. And then we get even more frustrated because we're not finding it. And so then we don't know what to do. Then we start going down the path of, I don't know what I want. I just know I'm not happy. I just know that I am not happy, but I don't know what I want. And all of this is part of the reason why purpose is not to be found, because it is inside of you. And it's all about taking time with yourself to understand what you truly want and ultimately not being embarrassed about that, not being worried about what other people will think. I have myself and some other friends, for example, who have left big fancy corporate jobs, and we have pursued what we want to pursue. And a lot of us have to overcome on a daily basis this worry that our colleagues, our friends, our spouses, our family, our children, basically everybody that we feel like we care about in our life, we have to worry about what do those people think of us. And so on top of all the other things that come with the pressures of trying to find your purpose, once you get to that point where you're really searching and you really care about it, now once you've made a decision that, hey, I'm going to start honoring my soul and I'm going to start fulfilling my soul's desires, then you have to overcome the mental battle of being a weirdo because of it, or feeling worried about what other people are going to think about you. So there's a lot wrapped up into why we're not living a life that we love, why we're not fulfilling our soul's desires. So even though we get to a place where we can understand this concept, okay, yep, I get it, I'm going to go fulfill my soul's desires, then we have to overcome some of the other obstacles of real life happening, mortgages, payments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what are people going to think about us? What are people going to think? Are they going to think I'm a kookaburra for deciding I want to quit my job and go do something I really love to do, like have a doodle farm and pick up doodles on a bus I bought for real cheap and fixed up, and now I'm picking up doodles for a living and letting them run around my backyard. But that's what makes you happy, right? So it makes a lot of sense where in a society that really looks at things like having corporate jobs, a steady paycheck, a steady job, a consistent income, benefits, 401ks, all those things trump whatever things in life that we might actually desire. And so honoring ourselves and fulfilling our soul's desires does become harder the longer we go and the further along we go, because now we've gotten ourselves into hot water up to our probably eyeballs almost, barely breathing, but not being happy and not being able to figure out why. And so the one thing that I wish for people to know, and what I wish I knew when I was trying to search for purpose, is that you don't just find it. And one of the reasons why is because purpose isn't just one thing. And the second reason is because it is inside of you, not outside of you, which also leads me to just say really quick that all of that ramble about the materialistic stuff, by the way, materialistic stuff isn't bad, but if those are the things that you think were going to make you happy, and then you pick your head up and you're not happy, the reason is because those things weren't necessarily inside of you. They were on the outside of you that you were reaching for. The other reason I know that purpose is not something that you just find is because it changes over time. And I really like for people to understand my definition of purpose, which is to fulfill your soul's desires, because if you understand that so clearly and you start practicing it at the very most minimal level, you can like go with the flow with your life. You can really not ever feel frustrated that you don't know what your purpose is, because you'll always be able to access it. It'll always be inside of you. You'll know how to take the steps to understand what your soul's desires are. And then over time, it just becomes easier and easier and easier, because something that you may or may not know, your soul's desires will change over time, which means your purpose changes over time. And if it changes over time and you have no tools in the toolbox to figure out every step of the way how to find your purpose or how to feel purposeful or fulfilled in life, then you're going to find yourself in the middle of this empty field, not sure which direction to turn at various points in your life, because life changes. You know, when you're younger, it's like, I bet your purpose is to get off mom and dad's payroll and be on your own and be an individual and get a job and put that degree to work. And that's what you're focused on, right? Get your own apartment, get your own car, those types of things. And then as you go through your 20s, you know, it's like, okay, I've got a little experience. Now, what do I really want to do with my career? Maybe I'm trying to progress in my career and that's what I really want to do. So you're focused on that. And then you might get married. You might start having a family. Now we're kind of got a mix of career and family going on. And maybe world travel, and maybe trying to figure out a way to send our kids to private schools or whatever it is, right? And then as the kids get out of school, now it's like, okay, I'm kind of in the latter part of my life. Do I really want to keep doing this job? Do I want to pick up a different hobby? Do I want to travel the world a bit more? So things change over time. And so if you understand very clearly that your purpose isn't just one thing, and very clearly that you don't just find it, and very clearly that it is inside of you, not outside of you, then you'll understand that it's important to understand all this stuff, because it will change over time. So all these things kind of come together of, you know, purpose isn't just one thing that you do, and it's not going to be something you just find. And it's inside of you, not outside of you, and it changes over time. Those are the big ticket items, right? Is like, if you can understand that, you'll never feel this unfulfillment. You'll not feel this unhappiness. And by the way, I don't mean that like every single day you're going to be walking on clouds and never feel unhappy. Obviously, life is life, and we have challenges, and we're going to feel unhappiness. But as a general feeling, or an overall feeling, like, I have some bad days where I don't feel so great. I'm feeling kind of funky, or depending on the weather or what someone says to me, or someone cuts me off in traffic. Like, there are things that throw me off, but generally speaking, I can say I'm wildly happy and wildly fulfilled, and feeling like I'm truly carrying out my soul's desires on a regular basis. And because of that, I'm happy. Like, I'm happy. I'm not stressed. And if you think about what this does for us, right? It's not about just like some arbitrary esoteric thing in the air of find your purpose or fulfill your soul's desires. It's also about health and well-being. So many people are so stressed out to the max because they're not happy, they're not fulfilled, they're not doing what their soul is asking them to do. They're not fulfilling their soul's desires. And so they have all these symptoms. They're run down, they're burnt out, their health is taking a hit. They're at their doctor's office a lot. They're getting diagnosed with various diseases. They're going on medications. It's not a secret that these things are going on. And this is why I talk about this stuff, because I truly believe it's a significant portion of the reason why. Because we're just getting into this thing we call life. We're moving along by somebody else's rules, not our own. And then we're finding ourselves in a really dark place. Even if we have what we thought we wanted, even if we have a family, even if we have a good job, even if we have a decent home, even if we're living, quote unquote, the American dream, we're not happy. We're diseased. We're sick. We're burnt out. We're stressed. And that is so far from how we're supposed to be living. And this is why I talk about this stuff so much, because I just look around and I see it everywhere. I see so many people not happy. And if I could just inject this, what I have discovered, into every single person I know, I would, but I can't. So here I am doing YouTube, trying to figure out how to inject it into people. But ultimately, that's why I talk about this stuff, because if you are so far removed from what you want and you can't feel that and you don't understand it and you have no idea what makes you happy and you feel burnout or stressed out, despite success, by the way, then this is a good place for you to think about, how do you start fulfilling your soul's desires? And my recommendation around this is not to necessarily go full tilt, go jump off a cliff, because if you do, that could cause some damage, first of all. But secondly, you won't do it, right? Like if I say, go quit your job tomorrow, that's just doing nothing but stressing you out, you won't do it. And you shouldn't. It's dangerous. You won't be able to pay your bills. Maybe your kids will go without, et cetera, et cetera. But what I would recommend you do is very small things to start getting your body and your mind and your soul on board with what it is you're trying to do, which is fulfill your soul's desires. And so if you just take the smallest thing, like I want to go and get out of the office and get some sun on my face for 20 minutes a day for 3 times this week, then just fulfill that. Just do that simple thing. Just a simple, small thing, and start that small. Or I want to make sure that I connect with a friend at least once a month. I want to make sure that I have dinner with a friend of mine, a really close friend of mine, at least once a month. If that is your soul's desires and that's what your soul wants to express and how it wants to express it, then start with those kind of things. The big stuff will come along. The big stuff will eventually come along, come up. And the more you get used to and the more you exercise that muscle, the more you'll get closer and closer to fulfilling your soul's desires, the more used to it you'll get, and the better you'll get at it, and the more capable you'll get at it. And when you do that, then you'll find a way to do more and more of it in a bigger way. So that's when we start talking about purpose as it relates to careers and jobs, purpose as it relates to relationships, purpose as it relates to where you live in the world, like the big ticket items of life. But my advice to anybody searching for their purpose is And it's the one thing I wish I knew when I was searching and searching and searching and searching and couldn't come up with an answer. The one thing I wish I knew was that you don't just find it. And once I did know it, which was your purpose is to fulfill your soul's desires, what I also wish I knew then, a little bit clearer, I do now, but I didn't then, was just taking daily small steps is massive for your well-being compared to constantly shutting down your soul's desires and or completely ignoring them altogether and feeling very unhappy, burnt out, having disease. There's just also relationships failing, being frustrated at work, coming home from work and griping about work. So you're still technically at work. Like, I just don't think that's the life we were supposed to live. I don't believe that at all. So start small. That is my advice today, is start small. Understand that your purpose isn't just one thing you're going to find and then it's going to be all over and then you're going to be happy and life is going to be good. No, your life purpose is to fulfill your soul's desires. So the best thing you can do is start checking in with yourself on the little things that you want to do and then following through with them. And if you don't, by the way, don't beat yourself up. This isn't a contest. This isn't like you're good or you're bad. Just do the simple things and do them on a fairly regular basis and start really connecting with yourself and hearing what you really want to do. And then once you hear it, fulfill it. That's it. It's that simple. And then as you go along in this journey, there will be bigger ticket items that come up that you want to address for your soul and for you. And you can address them because that muscle of listening to your soul's desires will be much, much bigger, stronger, just like any other muscle. And then you'll be able to easily come up with a game plan to do the type of thing that you want to do in the realm of fulfilling your soul's desires. If they're bigger ticket items, like maybe a different career, maybe a different relationship, maybe a different place of living, those big life items. But start small and go from there. Okay, I hope that this was helpful to you. And if you've not watched my video on how to find your purpose, please go to my videos, scroll down, find how to find your purpose video so that you have an idea of where to even start. And I will also link it in the show notes here so that you have a direct link to it to make it easy for you. And as always, please comment below. Please let me know what you think about this, or if you have any questions. There's also some free resources down below for you. So check those out as well to get you started in the right direction on finding your purpose. Okay, until next week, guys, thank you and talk soon.